forward. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have quite a distinguished panel here with us today, and I know that they're very, very busy, and but we wanted to make sure we took the time to speak to our special ed families about the opening. So with us today, we have Deputy Superintendent Sam Schneider, Executive Director for Curriculum Instruction and Professional Personnel, Dr. Lori Kerner. We have Principal of Phillips Avenue, Deb Rogers. Principal of Aquaba, Brian Miltenberg. Principal of Riley, Dave Enos. Assistant Principal of Riley, Jean Grimm. Director of ELA, Maria Casamassa, Dr. Maria Casamassa. Director of ENL, Liz Caduto. Director of ENL 512 and World Languages, Denise Stevenson. And then I'm going to turn this over to the Director of Pupil Personnel Services, Jean Marie Mazzaferro, and Assistant Director, Amy Mckee.
Hello, thank you everybody for joining us today. So we are going to, I'm going to share my screen with you, and we are going to start with a little bit of a presentation about basically an overview of the reentry plan for special education. And then we'll have some time for questions afterwards. So I am going to share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes? Okay, perfect. Okay, so just to get us started, you will find the question and answer feature at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions, you can certainly feel free to put those in there. If you're using an iPad device, you'll find the feature at the top of your screen. Please make sure that you put your questions in there, and then after the presentation, we can take some time to answer those for you. If you have specific questions or concerns in regard to your child or their programming, feel free to reach out to either your building team or myself or Mrs. Mckee. That way we can make sure that everyone's privacy is upheld, but we certainly want to make sure that we're able to answer all of your questions. Okay. So we're going to start off with the K-6 hybrid model. If your child is returning to school, this is a little bit of what it will look like. So our live instruction days will be consistent with what is typically on an IEP. So if your child has CT services or resource room services, the in-person days will remain the same in regard to those services. What's a little bit different is the hybrid model on the days when they are not physically in school, then we're going to be relying on some remote processes. So for example, if your child has a consultant teacher on their IEP on the remote days, they'll be able to use a either Google Classroom, depending on the room that they're in, or Seesaw, to enable them to do some check-ins with the teacher. That teacher, the special education teacher, will also be checking in periodically with the gen ed teacher, as they would typically do, to ensure that any skills that need to be reinforced are able to be handled. In regard to co-teaching, that model is a little bit different. Obviously, you're having one gen ed and one special ed teacher, and so they'll both be utilizing the same platform in order to support students. So either teacher will be able to assign specific supports for students or skill building activities via the mode that they're using in that classroom. Again, either Seesaw or possibly Google Classroom. If a student has resource room, again, utilizing the platforms, and that will be consistently every day contact with the resource room teacher. Again, resource room is designed to work on specific skills. So the special education teacher will be reaching out and working to build those skills that are on the IEP specifically. Our self-contained classes on the K-6 level, so that includes our classes with 8 students, 12 students, and 15 students, will all be meeting in person 4 days a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they will be in session in their school building with their teachers. Wednesdays will be maintained as a remote learning day. This will be an extension, an opportunity to practice skills, maybe do some independent activities, and possibly some things that aren't reliant on the use of devices. So this will give a little bit of an opportunity for some of the things to be practiced on that I know some people have mentioned that they're concerned about, like handwriting and different things of that nature. Again, based on what's on the IEP for the student. Okay, our 7 to 12 model is a little bit different. Again, the consultant teacher model on remote days will be utilizing Google Classroom primarily. Sorry, bear with me one second. Our ICT programs, again, both teachers will be collaborating together. That is what happens when they are live. So that is also what will be happening when they are remote. Again, shared classrooms. Teachers will be able to design specific assignments and supports for students based on what's on their document. And that's one of the most important things that we want to keep in mind as we're moving forward, regardless of the model, is making sure that we're considering the fact that it needs to be individualized to the student. Resource room, very similarly to the other model, we'll be using Google Meets as well as Google Classroom to support teachers. So the resource room teachers are very excited to work to support students, not just with their skills that they need as per their IEP, but also within the classrooms. So that is something that they will typically do. So there'll be a lot of interaction and a lot of opportunity here for teachers to support kids using the Google Meet format as well as Google Classroom, so that it can, again, be super specific to the needs that they have. In the high school, our 12-1-1 class, which is our self-contained class, they will be meeting in person 5 days a week. Okay. So we have a plethora of related services. All of our related services will continue to be provided. When students are in person, obviously, we will be working to try to get those services there, but we're going to be looking at it very individually. So, for example, if a child has 3 sessions of speech a week and is in school for 2 days, the team might want to consider how often and with what frequency are we going to be doing live instruction as well as supporting through doing remote instruction. So that'll be something that we'll be looking at based on the student needs, the age of the student, and the level of supports that they receive. But all of our services we will be providing. When we talk about the remote days, there's a little variability as to what that might look like depending on the age of the student and the support service. So for example, we found in the spring that in regard to, for example, some of the behavioral supports, supporting students via phone was helpful to them. They could talk through their assignments with their teachers. That's what they were comfortable with doing. And the behavior therapists would be able to kind of direct and support and check in on how they're doing in regard to their behavior in various rooms, if you will. So again, it's going to be a little bit individualized. So we want to make sure that we're meeting their specific needs. So all of these services will be provided either live or remote. So additionally, there's been a lot of questions about students who have aides on their IEPs. So any student that receives the support of an aide for instructional purposes will be able to access this support on their remote days. So even when they're not in session, they will be able to call upon the aide to help them with management of different maybe accessibility issues depending on the age of the child. Maybe helping them to organize and plan for how they're going to do their work. So again, the team is at some point going to come together and really specifically talk about the best way to support the student. But we are looking at utilizing the aides in that capacity. Students who require physical aid support on the in-person days will continue to receive that support. Students with 504s and students with IEPs as well. And we've gotten a lot of questions about students who need a lot of physical support, perhaps with toileting and bathroom needs. And in those cases, we are looking to provide additional PPE support to the staff for that. Obviously, you know, the safety and health of everyone is our primary concern. So we are definitely making sure that we are taking care of that. Teaching assistants, if they are assigned to a special education classroom, they'll also be able to offer some support and guidance to students. And this, again, depending on the age of the student, may look a little bit different. So it could be something as easy as helping them to access things or talking them through how to access their accounts, to also having access to various curriculum or modifications or supports that they need, again, that are on their IEPs. So there is also the full remote learning option. Teachers and special educators and service providers will all be reaching out to ensure that these remote processes are happening and that students and families have access to their platforms. Again, we are as closely aligning to that IEP as possible. That is the first and foremost for us. And so all the related services will be maintained and provided. Again, you know, our hope is that within the next day or two, all of the teachers and providers will be able to reach out via email or phone to make sure that there's some contact, you know, especially if you have any issues with connecting to that. I don't know, Dr. Kerner, did you want to speak any more specifically to the organization of the day for the remote learners?
Yeah, I thank you very much, Ms. Mazzaferro. The organization of the virtual teaching and learning will be consistent across the district. That will require live check-ins, live teaching of mini lessons. Certainly in the area of special education, we would want our teachers to refer to the IEPs and group children accordingly. And so it will be a mix. We don't want children in front of the computer all day long. So there will be activities, as you mentioned earlier, that the children will be doing on their own. Teachers will have office hours where the children can come back in then, ask questions, go back and tend to their studies, and so on. But we'll walk through it with them a little more detailed. Once they receive their teacher, the teacher will go through that with them.
Thank you. So one of the most important things that the state has kind of charged us with doing right now is making sure that we are upholding our parent communication. And so again, I recommend that if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to your team, or certainly reach out to us at PPS, and we can answer any of the questions that you may have. Moving forward, we are looking at instilling what we're calling hybrid learning plans. And these are going to be basically team meetings where everyone can get together and look at the specific situation that the student is in and their IEP, and make sure that we've covered all of our bases and are ensuring that their needs are met. So for an example, the team may get together and discuss that, Jack has resource room and he's in cohort 1, and so what is that going to look like for him specifically on those other days? What other services does he have? What types of supplementary supports? And how are you going to make sure that all of those things and all of the students' needs are being met? So that is something that we'll be instilling in the next few weeks, and making sure that we are all on the same page to best meet students' needs. Our CSE meetings have been running virtually. We've been using Google Meet. We are hoping to possibly make the switch over to Zoom just because of efficiency and systems. I love Google Meet, but we've had some glitches with it, so we're hoping that we'll be able to move over to Zoom moving forward. But either way, we still have the remote option. We are trying to make sure that we're making it as accessible to parents as possible, as well as keeping everybody safe. So that is our goal. Again, any specific concerns regarding programming, please make sure that you're reaching out to us. We want to make sure that we're answering your questions and making sure that you are as at ease as you can be, given the situation that we kind of find ourselves in right now. We're also working on setting up some informational sessions for parents as far as helping them to access different platforms and things of that nature. So be on the lookout for those. We'll be periodically updating the special education page too for some learning in regards specifically to the needs of our families and our students. So please feel free to reach out again anytime, whether it's via email. It's probably the easiest right now to get a hold of us, but please feel free to do that. Okay. All right, so that is it for the presentation portion. Trying to see if we have any questions.
Yeah. I don't see any as of now, but thank you, Mrs. Mazzaferro. That was very informative. And I think what Mrs. Mazzaferro said at the end about how we're trying to make everyone feel as comfortable with the situation as possible. It's a challenge for all of us, but we're confident and that we'll be able to do the best that we can for our students during this time and keep everyone as safe and healthy as possible. So, oh, here we have a question. For K-6 self-contained meeting 4 days a week, on Wednesday, is all of the work independent or remote?
Sorry. So I think that you're going to find a mix of that. You know, we want to be giving students some supports with live, as far as maybe a Google Meet or a check-in. We're calling them check-ins. So that's very important, but there also will be some independent practice and skills practice that will be embedded in those days as well.
If anyone else has a question, feel free to type it in on the Q&A tab, either at the top or the bottom of your screen, depending on what kind of device you're using.
Ms. Mckee, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're on the spot. I don't know if you just want to say hello to everybody or if you have anything to add into, you know, some of the work that we've been doing for the last few weeks that feel like years. If there's anything that you wanted to jump in and say.
No, I'm Amy Mckee. I'm the primarily elementary chairperson and also CPSE chairperson. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out. We do try to respond within 24 hours. You know, we have been working hard, and if there's anything we can help you with, we're here to do that.
Thanks, Amy.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone who joined us today and everyone on this call. Please know that the children's best interest is our best interest. So that's what we're working towards. And tomorrow and Wednesday, the teachers are coming back. And Thursday and Friday, we have students back. And some of you on the call, your students are coming in for part of the week, or some of your students might be home all of the time. But whichever option you've chosen, please know that we're going to do everything we can to make this transition for your children the best it can be and uphold their IEP goals. And we certainly hope, we know that this situation is temporary, but we certainly hope that it is extremely temporary. But we're all here for you. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great afternoon and good luck to your children on the new school year.